When Marcus threw himself between the gunman and the flight attendant, he thought he was just saving a stranger's life. He never imagined that taking a bullet for Sophia would lead to losing everything he thought mattered, only to gain the family he never knew he needed. Before, watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Thompson sat in the cold hospital waiting room, his 8-year-old daughter Emma sleeping on his lap. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as he stared at the divorce papers in his hands. After 3 years of fighting for custody, he had finally won, but at what cost? His ex-wife Sarah had made his life hell, turning everyone against him, claiming he was an unfit father. She's lying about everything, Marcus whispered to himself. Remembering the court battle, Sarah had accused him of being violent, of neglecting Emma, of being unstable. None of it was true, but the damage was done. His reputation was ruined. His job as a security consultant was hanging by a thread, and his savings were almost gone from legal fees. Emma stirred in his arms, her small hand clutching his shirt. She was the only pure thing left in his world. Her mother had filled her head with lies too, but slowly Emma was starting to see the truth. The bruises on her arms from Sarah's boyfriend were healing, but the emotional scars would take longer. "Daddy, are we going to see Grandma now?" Emma asked sleepily. "Yes, baby. We're going to start fresh in California." "Just you and me," Marcus said, kissing her forehead. The flight to Los Angeles was their escape. Marcus had sold everything he owned to buy 2 tickets and rent a small apartment near his mother. It was their chance to start over, away from Sarah's lies and manipulations. At Chicago O'Hare Airport, Marcus held Emma's hand tightly as they walked toward their gate. The airport was crowded, filled with the usual chaos of travelers rushing to catch their flights. Marcus noticed the security was tighter than usual, but he didn't think much of it. As they boarded Flight 447 to LAX, Marcus helped Emma into her window seat. She pressed her face against the glass, excited to see the clouds. It was her first time flying, and despite everything they'd been through, she still found wonder in small things. The flight attendant checking their section was a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Her name tag read Sophia Martinez. She noticed Emma's excitement and bent down to her level. "Is this your first flight, sweetie?" Sophia asked warmly. Emma nodded shyly and Sophia's face lit up. "Well, you picked a perfect day for flying. I'll make sure you get some extra peanuts." Marcus felt a genuine smile cross his face for the first time in months. It was rare to find someone who showed real kindness to his daughter. As the plane taxied for takeoff, Marcus noticed a commotion a few rows ahead. A man in a dark jacket was arguing loudly with another passenger. The man seemed agitated, his hands moving erratically as he shouted. "Sir, please return to your seat," Sophia said firmly but politely as she approached the angry passenger. That's when Marcus saw it. The man's jacket fell open, revealing what looked like a gun tucked in his waistband. Marcus's security training kicked in immediately. His heart raced, but his mind became crystal clear. The man was now standing, his face red with rage. "You people think you can treat me like garbage. I lost everything because of this airline. My wife left me, I lost my job, and now you want to throw me off this plane." Marcus recognized the look in the man's eyes. It was the same desperate rage he'd felt during his darkest moments. But this man had crossed a line Marcus never would. "Emma, put your seatbelt on and keep your head down," Marcus whispered urgently to his daughter. His voice was calm, but his body was tense, ready to act. The angry passenger, who Marcus later learned was named David Chen, was now fully standing in the aisle. His hand moved toward his jacket, and Marcus knew they had seconds before disaster struck. "Everyone thinks they can just ruin people's lives," David screamed. "Well, I'm done being pushed around." Sophia stood her ground, even though Marcus could see her hands shaking slightly. "Sir, whatever's wrong, we can talk about it. Please, just sit down." That's when David pulled out the gun. Screams filled the cabin as passengers ducked for cover. Children cried, adults prayed, and chaos erupted in the confined space of the airplane. But Marcus didn't hesitate. Years of security training, months of rage at injustice, and a father's protective instinct all combined in that moment. As David raised the gun toward Sophia, Marcus launched himself from his seat. "Gun! Everyone down!" Marcus shouted as he charged down the aisle. David turned toward the voice, his eyes wild and unfocused. The gun swung toward Marcus, but Marcus was already committed to his path. Time seemed to slow down as Marcus tackled David. The two men crashed into the seats, fighting for control of the weapon. Other passengers screamed and tried to get away from the struggle. "Let go of me," David yelled, his finger near the trigger. Marcus wrapped his arms around David's gun hand, trying to point it away from the other passengers. They rolled in the narrow aisle, knocking into seats and legs. "Think about what you're doing," Marcus grunted as they struggled. "This isn't the answer. You don't understand," David cried, tears streaming down his face. "They destroyed me, just like they destroyed you." For a moment, Marcus was confused. How could this stranger know about his situation? "I saw the news reports," David continued as they grappled. "The custody battle, the accusations. I know what it's like when the system fails you." Marcus realized David had recognized him from the local news coverage of his divorce. The story had made him look like a villain, just like Sarah intended. But even knowing they shared similar pain, Marcus couldn't let innocent people get hurt. "This won't fix anything," Marcus said, managing to get better control of David's wrist. "It will only make things worse." The gun was pointed toward the ceiling now, but David was still fighting to break free. Other male passengers started moving to help, but in the cramped space, too many people would make things more dangerous. "Sophia, get everyone to the back of the plane," Marcus called out without taking his eyes off David. But Sophia didn't run. Instead, she grabbed the emergency phone to alert the cockpit and then stayed nearby, ready to help however she could. That's when the gun went off. The sound was deafening in the enclosed cabin. Marcus felt a burning sensation in his shoulder as the bullet tore through his flesh. But he didn't let go of David's wrist. "Daddy!" Emma's terrified scream cut through all the other noise. The bullet had gone through Marcus's shoulder and lodged in the seat beside them. Blood seeped through his shirt, but adrenaline kept him fighting. "It's okay, Emma." "Stay down!" Marcus yelled back, his voice strained from pain. With his good arm, Marcus threw a hard punch that connected with David's jaw. The man went limp, finally releasing his grip on the gun. Sophia quickly kicked the weapon away from both men. Marcus collapsed on top of David, his shoulder throbbing and his vision starting to blur from blood loss. Other passengers, now that the immediate danger was over, rushed to help hold David down while Sophia grabbed the first aid kit. "Someone find something to tie his hands," Sophia called out as she knelt beside Marcus. "And we need to stop this bleeding." Marcus looked up at her through hazy vision. Even in the chaos, her first concern was taking care of him. She pressed gauze against his wound, her hands steady despite the trauma they'd all just experienced. "Emma," Marcus whispered weakly. "Is Emma okay?" Sophia looked toward Marcus's seat where the little girl was crying but unharmed. "She's safe. You saved everyone, including her." "The pilot's making an emergency landing," one of the passengers called out. "Paramedics will be waiting." Marcus closed his eyes, exhaustion overwhelming him. The last thing he remembered before losing consciousness was Sophia's gentle voice telling him everything would be okay. Marcus woke up in a hospital bed, his shoulder heavily bandaged and his arm in a sling. Sunlight streamed through the window, and for a moment he forgot where he was and what had happened. "Daddy," Emma's voice brought everything back. She was sitting in a chair beside his bed, her small hands holding a drawing she'd made of an airplane. "Hey, baby girl," Marcus said softly, his voice hoarse. "Are you all right?" Emma nodded, though her eyes were still red from crying. "The nice lady said you're going to be okay. She bought me chocolate and helped me color." Marcus looked around the room and saw Sophia sitting in the corner, still wearing her flight attendant uniform from the day before. She looked tired but gave him a warm smile when their eyes met. "You stayed?" Marcus asked, surprised. Sophia stood up and walked to his bedside. "I wanted to make sure you were okay, and Emma needed someone while the doctors took care of you." Marcus felt tears forming in his eyes. It had been so long since a stranger had shown him genuine kindness. After months of being treated like a villain, Sophia's compassion felt overwhelming. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "Yes, I did," Sophia replied firmly. "You saved my life. You saved everyone's lives. The least I could do was make sure your daughter wasn't alone and scared." A nurse came in to check Marcus's vitals and explained that he would need to stay another day for observation. The bullet had passed through muscle without hitting any major arteries or bones, so he would recover fully. "There's something else," Sophia said after the nurse left. "The airline wants to do something for you." "And so do I." Marcus shook his head. "I don't want any publicity. We came to California to get away from all that." Sophia sat down beside Emma and smiled. "This isn't about publicity. This is about family. Sophia reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. The airline is giving you a settlement for your injuries, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. She opened the envelope and showed Marcus several documents. I've been thinking all night about what you told that man on the plane. About systems failing people. About starting over, about protecting the ones we love. Marcus looked confused, so Sophia continued. I did some research last night. I found out about your custody battle. About what your ex-wife did to your reputation, about how you lost almost everything fighting for Emma. Marcus felt his defenses rising. If you're here to judge me. No, Sophia interrupted gently. I'm here to help you build something better. She pulled out a business plan from the envelope. I've been saving money for years to start my own business. I want to open a security consulting firm that specializes in protecting families going through difficult times. People like you who know what it's like to fight for what matters. Marcus stared at the papers, not understanding. I don't see what this has to do with me, Sophia smiled. I want you to be my partner. You have the experience, the training, and the heart for this kind of work. Yesterday proved that you're exactly the kind of person who should be protecting others. But you barely know me, Marcus protested. I know enough, Sophia said firmly. I know you risked your life to save strangers. I know you put your daughter's safety above everything else. I know you've been through hell but still chose to be a hero when it mattered. Emma looked up from her drawing. Daddy, the lady said we could be a team. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the offer. After months of rejection and judgment, someone was not only believing in him, but offering him a chance to rebuild his life. Why would you do this for us? He asked Sophia. Sophia's expression grew serious. Because I know what it's like to be alone and scared. I grew up in foster care, bouncing between homes where nobody wanted me. I learned that sometimes the only family you have is the one you choose. She looked at Emma, then back at Marcus. Yesterday, watching you protect everyone on that plane, seeing how much you love your daughter, I realized I want to be part of that kind of family, the kind that protects each other, that builds each other up instead of tearing each other down. Marcus wiped away a tear. You really mean this? I've already put the initial investment money aside, Sophia said. We can start small, maybe work with family lawyers to protect clients going through custody battles. Help single parents who are being threatened by violent ex-partners. Use our experiences to help people who need someone to believe in them. Over the next few weeks, as Marcus recovered from his injury, he and Sophia spent hours planning their business. Emma loved having Sophia around, and Marcus found himself looking forward to their daily meetings. Sophia had been true to her word about everything. She'd helped Marcus find a better apartment in a safe neighborhood with good schools. She'd used her airline connections to get Emma counseling to help deal with the trauma from the flight and her difficult relationship with her mother. Most importantly, Sophia had given them both something they'd been missing: hope. Guardian Angel Security Services, Marcus read from the business logo Sophia had designed. I like it. They were sitting in their new office, a small space Sophia had rented in a building that also housed several family lawyers. Emma was at her new school where she was already making friends. Our first client is coming in this afternoon, Sophia said excitedly. A woman whose ex-husband has been stalking her and threatening to take their kids. The police can't do much until he actually does something, but we can provide security and document everything. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. This was exactly the kind of case he wished he'd had help with during his own custody battle. There's something else I want to talk to you about, Sophia said, her voice becoming more serious. Marcus looked up from the client files they were reviewing. That man on the plane. David Chen. I went to visit him in jail. Marcus was surprised. Why would you do that? Sophia leaned back in her chair. Because I kept thinking about what he said to you, about recognizing you from the news, about knowing what it felt like to be destroyed by the system. She pulled out a newspaper clipping. I did some research. David wasn't lying about losing everything. His company fired him after a sexual harassment accusation that was later proved false. His wife divorced him and took their kids based on the false accusations. He lost his house, his savings, and his reputation. Marcus studied the article. The situation was eerily similar to his own, except David had let the injustice turn him into someone dangerous. What did he say when you visited him? Marcus asked. He cried, Sophia said quietly. He said he never meant to hurt anyone. He just wanted someone to listen, to believe that he wasn't the monster everyone said he was. Marcus felt a strange mixture of understanding and sadness for the man who had shot him. I think we need to add something to our business plan, Sophia continued. Support groups, counseling resources, a way to help people like David before they reach that breaking point. Marcus nodded slowly. Prevention, not just protection. Exactly, Sophia smiled. We can't save everyone, but maybe we can help some people find better ways to deal with injustice. 3 months after the incident on the plane, Guardian Angel Security Services had grown beyond Marcus and Sophia's wildest dreams. They had helped dozens of families, prevented several potentially violent situations, and built a reputation for caring as much as they did for protecting. But their biggest test came when Marcus received a phone call he'd been dreading. Marcus, it's my lawyer, the voice said. Sarah is challenging the custody agreement. She's claiming that your involvement in the plane incident proves you're violent and unstable. Marcus felt his heart sink. Just when everything was going so well, his ex-wife was trying to destroy his life again. What kind of evidence does she have? Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. She's twisting the news reports about the plane. She's claiming you could have handled the situation differently, that you put Emma in danger by getting involved. Marcus hung up the phone and put his head in his hands. Sophia, who had overheard the conversation, immediately came to his side. We'll fight this, she said firmly. You saved lives, Marcus. Any reasonable judge will see that. You don't understand, Marcus said bitterly. Sarah is very good at making lies sound like truth. She almost convinced me I was a bad father before I knew what she was doing. Emma came running into the office after school, her backpack bouncing as she hugged both Marcus and Sophia. She had started calling Sophia Aunt Sophia, and Sophia had embraced the role completely. What's wrong, Daddy? Emma asked, noticing Marcus's sad expression. Marcus knelt down to Emma's level. Mommy wants you to come live with her again. Emma's face immediately became serious. But I don't want to live with Mommy. She's mean to me and her boyfriend is scary. Marcus hugged his daughter tightly. I know, baby. But sometimes the grown-ups who make decisions don't understand everything. Sophia watched the interaction with determination growing in her eyes. Emma, would you like to help us show the judge why you should stay with Daddy? Emma nodded eagerly. Then we're going to need you to be very brave and tell the truth about everything, even if it's scary. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following month. Marcus spent sleepless nights worrying about losing Emma, while Sophia worked tirelessly to prepare their case. Look at this, Sophia said one evening, showing Marcus a stack of documents. I've been investigating Sarah's claims about that night on the plane. Sophia had contacted every passenger she could find from Flight 447. She'd gotten statements from the pilots, the other flight attendants, and even David Chen's lawyer. Every single person says the same thing, Sophia continued. You were a hero. You saved lives. There was no other way to handle the situation. But Marcus was still worried. Sarah is very convincing. She made me believe I was a bad father for months. That's not going to happen this time, Sophia said firmly, because this time you have people who believe in you. The day of the hearing, the courtroom was packed. Several passengers from Flight 447 had come to testify on Marcus's behalf. The pilot was there, along with 2 other flight attendants. Even some of their clients from Guardian Angel Security Services had come to show support. Sarah sat on the other side of the courtroom with her lawyer, looking confident. She had dressed conservatively and projected an image of concerned motherhood. When it was her turn to testify, Sarah painted a picture of Marcus as an unstable, violence-prone man who had put Emma in danger. Your Honor, my ex-husband deliberately put himself and our daughter in a dangerous situation, Sarah said tearfully. What kind of father chooses to fight an armed man when he could have simply moved his daughter to safety? Marcus felt his heart breaking as he listened to her twist his heroic actions into something selfish and reckless. But then it was Sophia's turn to present their case. Your Honor, I was the flight attendant Mr. Thompson saved, Sophia began. I was looking down the barrel of a loaded gun when he risked his life to protect not just me, but everyone on that plane, including his daughter. Sophia presented video footage from the plane's security cameras, expert testimony about the proper response to armed threats, and statements from passengers who credited Marcus with saving their lives. Mr. Thompson didn't just protect his daughter that day, Sophia continued. He protected 47 other innocent people, including children who went home safely to their families because of his courage. When Emma was called to testify, Marcus held his breath. His 8-year-old daughter walked confidently to the witness stand, wearing her best dress and carrying the drawing she'd made of the airplane. "Emma, can you tell the judge about living with your mommy?" the judge asked gently. Emma's voice was clear and strong as she spoke. "Mommy's boyfriend is mean to me. He yells a lot and sometimes he pushes me. Mommy doesn't stop him because she's scared too." She held up her drawing. "When the bad man on the plane tried to hurt people, my daddy stopped him. Daddy always protects me even when it hurts him." The judge asked several more questions and Emma answered each one honestly and bravely. The judge took a week to make his decision. During that time, Marcus barely slept or ate. Sophia and Emma tried to keep his spirits up, but he was terrified of losing the most important thing in his world. When they returned to the courtroom, Marcus's hands were shaking as the judge began to speak. "I have reviewed all the evidence and testimony in this case," the judge said. "I have also ordered an independent investigation into the home environment provided by both parents." Marcus felt sick to his stomach. Waiting for the verdict, "Mr. Thompson, your actions on Flight 447 demonstrate the kind of character and judgment that our society values most highly. You risked your own life to protect innocent people, including your daughter. This is not the behavior of an unfit parent. It is the behavior of a hero." Marcus felt tears of relief beginning to form. Furthermore, the investigation into Ms. Thompson's home revealed evidence supporting Emma's testimony about an unsafe environment. "Therefore, I am not only maintaining the current custody arrangement, I am also restricting Ms. Thompson's visitation rights pending completion of a domestic violence assessment." Marcus broke down crying as Sophia hugged him tightly. Emma ran from the witness area straight into her father's arms. "We won, Daddy," Emma said happily. "I get to stay with you and Aunt Sophia." After the hearing, as they walked out of the courthouse, Marcus stopped on the steps and looked at Sophia. "I can't ever thank you enough for everything you've done for us," he said. Sophia smiled, but her expression was serious. "Marcus, there's something I need to tell you." Marcus felt a moment of panic, wondering if she was going to say she was leaving now that the crisis was over. "I've been thinking about what Emma said in there, about staying with you and me," Sophia continued. "The truth is, somewhere along the way, you two stopped being just business partners and clients to me." She took a deep breath. "You became my family, the family I always wanted but never had." Marcus felt his heart racing, but not from fear this time. "Sophia, are you saying—" "I'm saying I love you, Marcus. I love Emma. I love the life we've built together. I don't want to just be business partners or friends. I want to be a real family." Marcus looked into her eyes and saw the same love and commitment she'd shown from the very first day in the hospital. "I love you too," he said softly. "I think I have since that morning when I woke up and you were still there taking care of Emma." Emma tugged on both of their hands. "Does this mean Aunt Sophia is going to be my new mommy?" Sophia knelt down to Emma's level. "Only if you want me to be, sweetheart." Emma threw her arms around Sophia's neck. "I want you to be my mommy forever and ever." Marcus stood in the backyard of their new house, watching Sophia teach Emma how to plant tomatoes in their garden. Emma was now 13, tall and confident, with Sophia's kind eyes and Marcus's determined spirit. Guardian Angel Security Services had grown into one of the most respected family protection agencies in California. They had prevented dozens of violent situations, helped hundreds of families through difficult times, and created a support network that reached across the state. David Chen had been released from prison 2 years ago after serving his sentence. With Sophia's help, he had joined one of their support groups and was slowly rebuilding his relationship with his children. He worked part-time for their company now, using his own experience to help other men who were struggling with anger and injustice. Marcus's mother lived with them now, finally getting to be the grandmother she'd always wanted to be. Emma had 2 parents who loved her unconditionally, grandparents who spoiled her, and a business that was making a real difference in people's lives. "Daddy, come help us," Emma called out, her hands covered in dirt and her face bright with happiness. As Marcus walked toward his family, he thought about that terrible day on the airplane. He had taken a bullet to protect a stranger, not knowing that stranger would become the love of his life and the mother his daughter needed. Sometimes the worst moments in life lead to the best ones. Sometimes a single act of courage can change everything, and sometimes, when you're willing to risk everything to protect others, You find exactly what you were meant to protect. Marcus knelt down beside Sophia and Emma, his hands joining theirs in the rich soil, planting seeds that would grow into something beautiful and lasting, just like their family had grown from one moment of heroism into a lifetime of love. "I love you both," Marcus said quietly. "We love you too, Daddy," Emma replied, not looking up from her planting. "Forever and always," Sophia added, squeezing his hand. In the distance, a plane flew overhead, its passengers safe and secure, just like the family Marcus had fought so hard to protect and build. The hero's heart had found its home.